welcome to the Mercury Virtual. Hope you are doing good. Today I'm going to continue with the same module, that is quality systems in IT, and the same topic, that is chapter, that is chapter number 3, that is role, origin and application ISO 9000. In the last class we have started this chapter, that is a role, origin and the application of ISO, that is what is the role, what is the origin of the ISO 9000 standard that is used for the ISO, that is role, origin and application of the ISO 9000, and that has been got us to where we are today, that is used to get us where we want to be. That means what are the various possible outcomes that is used for the ISO 9000 standards. So first question that arises, that what is the role of the ISO 9000 standard? So what is ISO 9000? So it is a series of the three international standards for the quality management system. So what is ISO? That is a series of, we can say, the continuing of the three international standards for quality management system that specify the requirement and recommendation for the design. So whatever the design, whatever the assessment that is used for the management system that is used in the ISO 9000 standard. So this is what is the ISO 9000 standard that requires, so that is a series of the three international standards for the quality management system, and they specify the requirements and the recommendation for the design and the assessment of the management system. So whatever the requirements, whatever the assessment that is required for the management system, that is carried out by the ISO 9000 standards. And ISO 9000 is not a product standard. So it is not a product standard, but these are the acceptance that is required for the ISO 9000. And next is, what is the main purpose of the ISO 9000? That is why we are using the ISO 9000 standards. So the main purpose is to assist the organization, that is to help the organization of all types to implement and operate effective quality management system. So what is the main target, or what is the main purpose, is to help the organization to implement and operate the effective quality management system. So there should be a effective, there should be a, we can say, the considerable quality management system when we use, or when the organization use the ISO 9000 standards. These standards provides a vehicle for consolidating and communicating concepts in the field of the quality management. These are the standards that provides a vehicle for communicating concepts. So what are the various communicating concepts that is required in the field of the quality management systems? That is the main purpose, that means to assist the organization to implement the standards. And what is the ISO 9000 family of standards? So there are three standards that is used in the family. One is the ISO 9000, ISO 9001, ISO 9004. So these are the three standards that is used in the family. So first is the ISO 9000 that contains the quality management system, that is the fundamental of the ISO 9000. Then next is the quality management system, ISO 9001, and then that is the main requirement for the quality management system. Then ISO 9004, that is also a part of the quality management system, that contains the guidelines for the performance improvement. So there are three parts. One is the ISO 9000, that is the fundamental, then ISO 9001, that is the requirements, then ISO 9004, that is the guidelines for the performance improvement. So what are the various guidelines that is used for the performance improvement? That is the ISO 9000 family of the standards that is used in this one. Now, what is the main purpose of these standards? What is the main purpose of these three standards that is available? ISO 9000, 9001 and 9004. So each standard provides or fulfills some purpose. The main purpose of the ISO 9000 is to provide an appreciation of the fundamental principle. That means it provides the fundamental principles of the quality management. That is, what are the various fundamental principles that is required for the quality management system that is used in the family of standards. Then what is the main purpose of the ISO 9001? That is to provide the requirement which, if met, will enable organization to demonstrate they have a capability to provide product that meets the customer and applicable recruitment. So what are the various requirements that is applicable for the quality management system that provides a product, that provides a customer and regulatory requirement that is used in the ISO 9001 standards. Well, main purpose of the ISO 9004 is to provide the guidance for improving the efficiency, effectiveness, and overall performance of the organization. That is, what is the main efficiency, what is, or how to improve the efficiency, what is the main effectiveness and overall performance of an organization. That is the ISO 9004 standards. Now, why would we need to use these standards? That is the next question. That is, why we are using these standards? What is the main advantage, or what is the main benefit of using these standards? So the answer is the ISO contains a definition of the term that is used in the family of the standard. Without understanding of the concept, without understanding of these standards, The standards are prone to misinterpretation. So there is a misinterpretation among the ISO 9000 standards that contain the general concept and the principle that are applied to the quality management system. That is ISO 9000 standard, and ISO 9001 contains a requirement for a quality management system. That is ISO 9001 standard. So first is ISO 9000 standard, then ISO 9001 standard that is used for the quality management system, and that should be used in the contractual situation where the customer requires its supplier to demonstrate that they have a capability to consistently produce, or they have a capability to consistently provide the produce the ISO 9000 standards. Then ISO 9004 that contains the guidelines on guidance on developing and improving a quality management system. So what are the various parts by which we can use the ISO 9004? So that contains a guidance on developing and improving the quality management system. That is the ISO 9004 standards. Now, why was ISO 9001 created? So what is the main benefit for creating this one? To generally, it was created to facilitate the understanding of the quality management system. So how to improve the quality management system, that is the main role of the ISO 9000 standards that is used in the national and the international trade. And there are schemes that is required for the requirements of any of the standard that is used in the ISO 9000 family that were launched to reduce the cost of the customer sponsored audit. So whatever the customer sponsored audit that is required to verify the capability of the suppliers, that is the ISO 9000 standard. And the standard was primarily intended for situations where customer and suppliers were in a contractual relationship. So whatever the contractual relationship that is available that is used for the ISO 9000 standard. And it is clear that customer needs a confidence in the quality of the product supplied and would require some evidence that will be used or that will be available in the customer quality of the products. And ISO 9000 was a neat solution to this problem that is required to obtain an assurance of the quality. So that is required for the assurance of the quality that is available in the ISO 9000 standard. Then what does ISO 9000 apply to? That means where it is applied to, or why we are using the ISO 9000. It is applied to what, or to what place? So it is applied to all the organization that is carrying out the product, or regardless of their size, product, and the type they are providing. So it can be applied to each and every organization. Which standard? That is the ISO 9000 standard, or it's a family of standard. That means it is a group of the standard that is available. Next is origin of the ISO 9000. That means what is the main origin of how the ISO 9000 originate. The story of the ISO 9000 is the story of the standards, method, and the regulations. So what are the various standards, methods, and the regulation that is used in the ISO 9000 standard? And the belief history follows in no way comprehensive but is intended to illustrate the four things. What are the four things? That standards are an ancient concept that survived several millennia. That means there are multiple parts that is used that contains the various standard that is used as a part of the ancient concept. Then next purpose or the next thing, that it is a means of verifying the compliance often follows the setting of the standard. That means it often provides various compliance. We can say the finding out the concept that is used for the setting of the standards. That is ISO 9000 standard. Then formalizing the working practices that is used for the old and seen as a means of to meet the requirements. So what are the various standards that is available that is used to meet the working standards, working practices that is seen to mean to consistently meet the standards. Then that the market regulation has been around for centuries for the protection of both craftsmen and the traders. So what are the various concepts that is used for the centuries for the protection of the both craftsmen and traders? That is the origin of the ISO 9000 standard. So that contains the four things, and it is a synonym or symptom of the practices. So what are the various practices that is followed around the centuries before everyone coined the term quality management? So quality management concept is a symptom that is used in the practices that is required for the centuries before anyone coined the term quality management. It is in respect a natural progression that will continue to evolve. So what are the various progressions that will continue to improve will be available in the some respects. The story is told from a British point of viewpoint. So the story is told from a British viewpoint that is available. So that is a ISO 9000 standards. Now 3000 BC, that means there is a concept or there is a term that is a 3000 BC, that means the 3000th century that is available. Then 3rd century AD, there is the evidence that is used to suggest the association of the traders and the craftsmen that is used in the 3rd century AD. Then 10th century AD, that is used in the Byzantine Empire, and particularly that is known now used as the instant food. So that is the 10th century AD. Then 11th century AD. So these are the various ADs, or we can the centuries that is available. And as the communities grew in size and formed towns, craftsmen or the merchant formed guilds, formed mutual aids and protection, and for the furtherness of their professional interests. So whatever the professional interest, whatever the furtherness of the interest that is available, that is used in the 11th century AD. And by the 11th century in the Europe, guilds performed a variety of important functions. So there are multiple functions that is used for the a variety of the functions that is used in the local economy, which were a part of the monopoly of the trade. So that is a part of the monopoly of the trade. That is also a part of the 11th century AD. That is a standard for the quality of the goods and the integrity of the trading practices. So that is used in the 20th century, that is used as a part in which the skills of the workman rather than the equipment determine the quantity and the quality of his output. That means what are the various quantity or what are the various quantitative terms that is used in effectiveness, or that is used in defining the term, that is also a part of the quantitative effectiveness. And boys were taken into the guilds, a 5 to 9 year appreciation that is available for the guild, and become a journeyman. So that becomes a journeyman for the standard that is applicable for it. Then 13th century AD, so in 1300th century, Edwin I, that is a king of the England, voted in a statute that no gold or the silver, that means there is no gold or the silver, be sold until tested by the guardians of the craft. So that is not tested by the guardians of the track or craft, that is used with the leopard head, first known as a king mark. So there is a whole mark that is available as 13th century, that is also ISO mark. Then this is the 16th century, that is 17th century, then 19th century, 19 to 2000th century. This is Richard M, that is also ISO mark, that is used for developing a science. Then 1950s, that does not appear in this one. 1960s, these are the various theory that is available for the various 90s. Now this is the diagram, that is big Q to the little q. That means this is a big Q, that is a strategy that is used for satisfying the interested parties. EFQM, that is used for the Malcolm Babbage. Then there is a market driven best in the class, that is there is a market driven that is best in the class that is used. Then ISO 9001, 2000, 9004, 1994. Now, what are the various changes to the ISO 9000? So what are the various changes that is applicable in the ISO 9000 standards? So next is what are the various changes to the ISO 9000 standard? That means what are the various changes that is available to the ISO 9000? So first is change in the title. That means there is a change in the title that is used for the ISO 9000 standard. So title has changed, moving from the models to the requirement and the guidance. So title has been changed for the ISO 9000 standards, that has been moving away from the model to the requirements and the guidance. That is the changes to the ISO 9000 standards. So first is a change in the title. Then next is a change in the scope. So the scope of the standard has changed from those activities that impact the product to the services, or that impact the scope of the standard that has changed from those activities that impact the product to embrace all the activities. That means what is the main scope of the standard that have been changed from the activities that impact the product to embrace all the activities in an organization that serve the satisfaction of the consumer or the customer. So what are the various terms that is used to serve the satisfaction of the customer? That is change in the scope. So first change in the title, then change in the scope, then change in the structure. So by far the most significant change is the change in the structure, away from the 20 element to model 2 based on the 5 element, that is the ISO 9000 2000 family of the standards, is based on a process model, that is a model that is intended to represent the data that is intended to represent a process-based quality management system. And a version of this is illustrated in the figure 3.2, that is a model of a process-based quality management system. So there is a interested party, there is a requirement that is available. So there is a management responsibility, measurement, analysis, and improvement. There is a resource management. So this is the interested party that is available. There is a satisfaction that involves the measurement, that involves the analysis and the improvement, that is used for the management responsibility, that is used for the product output services or the product realizations. And this is different from the ISO 9004 standard. So there are three standards that is used: 9000, 9001, and the 9004. And there are no processes or the system between the needs of the interested party and satisfying them other than are shown within the LF that is used, that is a management system. So there is a management system that is available within this one, that is within the LF, it is available within the management systems. And there are no processes or the system between the needs of the interested parties and the satisfying them other that are shown within the LF, that is a management system. Now this is the interested party. There are three processes that is available: process A, process B, and the process C. And there is an end-to-end process available within this one, that is the process A, process B, and the process C. So there is the interested party needs satisfied. There is an end-to-end processes that is available, and there are stakeholders at either end of the processes. So there are stakeholders that is available at either end of the processes. And another way of drawing this part of the model is shown in figure 3.3. So that is another way of drawing this part of the model that is used with this model, that is used as ISO, or that is used with the different processes, that is end-to-end process, that is the process A, process B, and the process C. Now, changes in the content. The content has changed from the 20 elements organized on the basis of what could go wrong to the 4 groups of requirements. So there are 4 groups of requirement that is used on the basis of what could go wrong to 4 groups of requirement that focus on the elements of the process management. So that focus in the content, that what are the various content, what are the various elements of the process management, that is the changing in the content or changes in the content. And that is not the fact that the original elements have been placed on a new structure. That is not that the new element will be placed on the new structure, but that the principle upon which the standards have been changed, that means the standards have been changed or has been based have changed. That means the change in the content means the base of the content or the base of the standard that have been changed. Then changes in the intent. So there is changes in the intent that has been changed from the model for the quality assurance to a set of the requirement for an effective quality management. So there is the effective quality management that is used for the change in the intent from a model for the quality assurance to a set of the requirements for an effective quality management. The standard is now based on the 8 management principles, not on how what the requirements were necessary to prevent the failures that experience that is led to the poor product quality, that result in the poor product quality, that is a change in the intent that is used for the standard ISO 8402, that is used for the set of the family, that is used in the ISO 9000 standards. Much damage can be done when the requirements of the ISO 9000 are taken out of the context, taken in the isolation and taken literally. And ISO 9000 is not a product standard, therefore it is a subject to interpretation as appropriate to the conditions in which it is used. It is appropriate to the condition in which it is used, that is ISO 9000 standards. And there is organizations design and manage their process effectively to achieve the corporate objectives. Note that they create the functional sites that compete for the resources. That means they compete for the resources that is available for the production side, that is available for the side of this one. So these are the 4 designs that should be included. So for the ISO 9000 standards, the organization design and manage their processes that is used effectively to process the requirement to corporate the objective, that is used for the functional sites, function silos that compete for the resources. Then change in the language. So the language in the ISO 9000 have been changed to reflect the pressure from the user community for a user friendliness standard. So there should be a change in the language to show the user friendliness among the standards that is used In some cases, the changes are insignificant, but in others, the changes have a wider impact as indicated below. So there is a subcontractor that has changed to the supplier and the supplier changed to the organization. So there is now a supply chain represented by the customer, organization, supplier. So there is a customer, there is an organization, there is a supplier that is used for the subcontractor, or there is used for the subcontractor. That is a change in the language. And in ISO 9001, the term customer is used, but in ISO 9004, the term that is used is the interested party. So either we can use the customer term, either we can use the interested party term in the ISO 9004 standards. And there is executive management that has been changed to the top management indicated when the standard uses the term management responsibility, who directs the organization that should address these requirements, that is executive management. Then specified requirement that are changed to the customer and the regulatory requirement or the product requirements that depends on the content. So context. So whatever the requirement that is required, either the specified requirement or the executive management or the requirement. Then procedures that have not exactly been changed to processes that presenting in different ways. The next is changes in the requirement. So whatever the changes that is required in the changes in the requirement. Now what are the basic requirements that should be resolved into a single requirement? It would be phrased along the following lines. So that should be phrased among the following lines. That is a basic requirement that has been changed to the single recruitment. A single requirement that should be phrased along the following lines. Then there is a generic requirement. So if the 250 or so requirements of the ISO 9001 and the intention of 9004 were to be considered into the just 5 simple requirements, they might read as follows. The organization shall determine the need and expectations of the customer and other interested parties. So there is a generic requirement. So organization shall determine the needs and the expectations of the customer and other interested parties, then establish the policies, objective, and the work environment necessary to motivate the organization to satisfy these needs. So whatever the need that is required, that the generic requirements of the policies, objective, and the work environment that is necessary to motivate these objectives. Then design, resource, and manage a system on interconnected processes that is necessary to implement the policy and attain the objective. Now, what are the various key changes that is available in ISO 9000 standard? So these are the various key changes that is used. This I'm going to discuss after the break. So let's take a break, then move to this. What are the various changes that is available in this one? So these are the various changes that is available. Now let's look at the various changes that is used. The first one is the audit. So the audit of the management system design, processes, and conformity with ISO 9001 no longer limited to procedures the audit. So there is no longer procedure that is used for the auditing, that is used for the audit, that is the audits. Then communication. So processes for the internal communication rather than the system or the documentation. So processes are used for the internal communication rather for the documentation. So there is no documentation part, but there is only the communication that is used for the internal communication. Then continual improvement. So effectiveness of the management system should be continually improved, not merely reviewed. So that is increased, or that is properly improved for the continual management system that is used for this one. That is a continual improvement. Then contract review. So that is a contract by replaced by the wide-ranging review of all the product requirements, including the customer, including the organizational and the regulatory requirement, no longer limited to the contracts and the lenders. So there is no longer limited to the contract that is used for the contract and the lenders. And the standards had moved away from the original intention of it being used in a contractor or contractual situation to one in which there might be no contract until after the product or service has been developed. So there is no product or service that has been developed in the contract review. Then there is a customer satisfaction, that is the customer perception of the organization performance to be monitored on a regular basis to measure the management system. So there is the measurement of the management system that is used for the management system, that is used for the management content that is available for the management system, that is the contract review. Then there is a customer satisfaction. So the customer perception of the organization performance has to be monitored on a regular basis, so that is used on a regular basis, that is available. So that will be quite used for the customer satisfaction. So that is the customer satisfaction for this one. So customer perception of the organization performance to be monitored as one of the measure of the management system performance. So there is a measurement that is used for the management system, that is used as a management content, that is also a part of the management systems, that is also a part of the management review, that is the customer satisfaction. The next is the design, that is the designing of the system. So if the organization designs its own products and services, then design and development processes must be included in the management system. So there is a design and the development processes that must be included in the management system, that must be designed in the management system, that should be developed for the design purpose. Then next is the documentation, that is the documentation part. That means that is determined by the organization for documenting the concepts as necessary for effective operation of the processes. So whatever the effectiveness that is available for the necessary performances that is used for the documentation for the effective operation of the processes, that not simply as required by the standard. So that is not required by the standard, but that is only the documentation part. Then there are linkages, that organization purpose have been linked. So what is the organization purpose? What is the main linkage that is available with the organization's policies, objective, processes, and results to be linked to demonstrate the effective process management? That is the linkages. Then management review. So top management to review the system for its effectiveness in enabling the organization to meet the requirement of the customer. So there is a management review that is used to review the system for its effectiveness, that is used in the organization to meet the requirements of the user, and if there is no longer limited to a review of the audit results and the customer complaints. Then next is a marketing. So the processes employed to determine the customer needs and the expectations must form part of the management system. That must form the part of the management system. That is a marketing that no longer limited to conduct the review activities. Then next is a measurement that is required for all the processes, not only production, servicing and installing processes. So that is required for the measurement part, that is required for all the processes, not only the production and servicing and the installation processes, but that is required for all the measurements. Then procedures, that means only 6 procedures specified as requirement, other as needed for effective operation and control of the processes. So whatever the procedure that is followed, there are total 6 procedures that is followed for the recruitment, for the requirement, that is used as needed for the effective operation and control of the processes. The next is the processes. So all processes that serve the achievement of the organization objective to comprise the management system, that is no longer limited to uh, production, installing and servicing. Then there is a QMS that is used for the standard. Then there is a quality manual, that means there is a documentation part, that is a manual that is needed to describe the interaction between the processes. So how the interaction will be carried out among the processes, that is defined by the quality manual. So that is not to be a response to each clause of the standard, that is a quality manual. Then quality objectives, that is the quality objective that is used for this one. Then separate from the policy but consistent with it and establish at relevant level. So what are the various relevant level that is used for the quality objective? What are the various function that is established for this one? That is the driver of the continual improvement in the performance. So that means there will be a direct improvement in the processes that is defined for the performance. Then next is a quality policy. So what policy that will be used for the purpose of the organization, that provides a framework for the quality objective. That what is the main objective of this one? That is not a motherhood statement. Then next is a record as needed to provide the evidence of the effective operation, that is used for the records. That is used for all types of record, that is not simply those refers to as the quality records. The next is the requirement. So whatever the requirement that is coming to meeting the requirements of the customer and interested party, that will be used, that is used for this one, that is used for the interested parties. Then there is a system effectiveness that is to be measured, analyzed and continually improved and judged by the degree to which the customer are satisfied, that is a system effectiveness. Then next is a top management that must be involved in establishing, developing, reviewing and improving the management system. That means what is the top management follows, or what is the role of the top management that is used in establishing, developing, reviewing and implementing or improving the management system. Next is the top management that must be involved in establishing, developing and reviewing the concept that is used for the top management. These are the various changes that will be required for the various versions that is will be required for the various changes. And these are among some clauses that will be used for. There are few differences among these clauses, that is 4.1, 4.2. Now, what is the main impact of this one, or what is the main impact that will be used? So main impact that is used on the batch on the whole, that means getting the recognition for what is doing or how much changes that will be used, that is the performance on the organization. And then what are the various management responsibilities that is used? So what happened to the 20 element? That means what happened to the 20 element that will be used in this one, that is used in the quality control, that will be used in the quality management. This topic, that is what happened to the 20 element, that I'm going to take within the next class, that is in the tomorrow's class. So that's all for today's session. Thank you so much everyone for listening me. And if there is any doubts, any suggestions, you can add the doubts from me. So this will be winding up, and in the next class, that